Hello and welcome to What Is, the channel that dives headfirst into the universe's biggest questions, armed with nothing but curiosity and an unhealthy amount of coffee. Today, we're tackling one of the big ones, a real head-scratcher, a question that's kept philosophers up at night and made scientists scratch their heads with the intensity of 1,000 fleas. What is consciousness, and where does it come from? Now, before you switch off, thinking this is going to be a dry lecture filled with jargon, let me assure you, we're going to try and keep this as engaging as that time you discovered you could wiggle your ears. Remember that. Pure, unadulterated consciousness in action. So, what is consciousness? Imagine for a moment. You're having a particularly spectacular dream. You're flying, soaring over a landscape of rainbow-colored spaghetti. You feel the wind in your phantom hair, the exhilaration in your dream heart. That, in a nutshell, is an experience. Consciousness is the awareness of that experience. It's the feeling of being you, the subjective inner world where thoughts, feelings, sensations, and memories all swirl around like well-meaning but slightly chaotic guests at a party. It's the difference between a rock and a rock with an opinion. Rocks, as far as we know, are pretty chill. They don't ponder the existential angst of being a rock. They just are. We, on the other hand, are doing a lot of being and a whole lot of thinking about it. Our consciousness is what allows us to appreciate the taste of that perfectly ripe strawberry, the sting of a stubbed toe, the melody of our favorite song, or the sheer absurdity of a cat chasing a laser pointer with unwavering determination. It's the inner narrative, the director's commentary on the movie of our lives. But here's where it gets tricky. Scientists, bless their methodical hearts, have been trying to pin consciousness down for ages. They've looked at the brain, this 3-pound lump of wrinkly tissue, and thought, it must be in here, and they're not wrong. We know that damage to specific parts of the brain can severely alter or even extinguish consciousness. Think of it like a faulty fuse box. If the right wires get crossed, the lights go out. The prevailing scientific view is that consciousness is an emergent property of the brain. Think of it like this. A single water molecule isn't wet. But when you get trillions of them together, something new emerges: wetness. Similarly, individual neurons, those tiny little brain cells, are simple electrical and chemical messengers. But when you have billions of them, intricately connected and firing in complex patterns, poof, consciousness appears. It's the grand performance arising from the bustling orchestra of your neurons. This is the hard problem of consciousness, as famously coined by philosopher David Chalmers. We can explain how the brain processes information, how light hits your eyes, gets turned into electrical signals, and travels to your visual cortex. We can even see which parts of the brain light up when you're re-looking at a sunset. But why does that process give rise to the feeling of seeing a beautiful sunset? Why isn't it just dark, silent processing inside your skull? That's subjective, qualitative experience. The what it's like to be you is the real puzzle. Some theories suggest consciousness arises from complex feedback loops within the brain, where information is constantly being processed and reprocessed, creating a unified sense of self. Others point to specific neural networks or synchronized brain activity as the key. It's like a vast, interconnected city, where information is constantly zipping around, and consciousness is the electricity that powers all the lights and activity, making the whole thing hum. Then there are the more out-there theories. Some researchers explore the idea of integrated information theory, suggesting that anything with a certain level of integrated information possesses consciousness. This could potentially extend beyond biological brains, though the implications of a conscious toaster are probably best left for another episode. And of course, we can't ignore the role of evolution. Consciousness, in its most basic forms, likely conferred a survival advantage. The ability to react to danger, to remember where food is, to understand social cues. These all require some level of awareness. Imagine a proto-mammal being able to consciously decide, that rustling in the bushes sounds like a saber-toothed tiger. Maybe I should reevaluate my current location. That conscious deliberation, however rudimentary, probably saved its ancestors a lot of trouble. It's the ultimate evolutionary hack. But even with all this scientific exploration, consciousness remains a bit of a ghost in the machine. We can observe its effects, map its correlates, but its fundamental nature is still elusive. Is it purely physical, a product of our biological machinery, or is there something more? Consider this: if you could perfectly replicate your brain, neuron for neuron, connection for connection, would that replica be conscious? Would it feel like you? Or would it just be a very sophisticated automaton, acting as if it were conscious? This is the realm of thought experiments and philosophical debates, where we try to prod and poke at the boundaries of our understanding. And sometimes, in moments of profound clarity or overwhelming emotion, we get a little glimpse of that mystery ourselves. The feeling of awe staring at the night sky, the sudden understanding of a complex idea, the deep connection with another person. These moments feel like more than just electrochemical reactions. They feel significant. So, where does consciousness come from? The honest answer, for now, is we're still figuring it out. It's likely a complex interplay of biological processes, emergent properties of our incredibly sophisticated brains, shaped by millions of years of evolution. It's the spark that ignites our subjective reality, the inner light that allows us to experience the universe from our unique vantage point. It's the ability to ask, what is consciousness in the first place? And that, my friends, is pretty darn amazing. Thank you for joining us on What Is. If your brain hasn't exploded with existential wonder, and if it has, please consult a medical professional before you try to replicate it. Then consider subscribing for more deep dives into the questions that matter. And if you have a question you'd like us to tackle, leave it in the comments below. Until next time, keep questioning.